Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea. What if your mind isn't just one single you, but a whole inner family of different parts? We're going to explore how understanding this inner world can help us heal some of our deepest conflicts. You know that feeling, right? Where one part of you is like, let's go for a run, but another part is screaming, no, let's just stay on the couch. Or maybe a part of you knows you deserve better in a relationship, but another part is just terrified of being alone. It's this classic feeling of being pulled in all these different directions, like there are a bunch of voices arguing inside your head. Well, this push and pull, it isn't a sign that you're broken. Not at all. It's a deeply human experience. But what if those conflicting voices aren't just random noise? What if each one is a distinct part of you with its own story, its own job, its own protective mission? It turns out this internal conflict often has roots that go way deeper than we think. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into where this inner conflict comes from. Then we'll introduce a really powerful framework for understanding it all. And finally, we'll map out the journey toward finding some real inner peace. Let's get into it. So where do these internal battles actually start? Well, the answer often lies in our past, in experiences that kind of caused our psyche to split into different parts. But here's the thing. This wasn't a mistake. It was actually a brilliant survival strategy, a form of self-protection that often kicks in when we're young. Now, we're not talking about trauma from some random, shocking event. Betrayal trauma is a really deep, relational kind of wound. It happens when the very people we depend on for safety and care, a parent, a partner, are the ones who violate our trust. And because we need them to survive, our mind has to find some way to cope with a totally impossible situation. And that coping mechanism can lead to something called a traumatic bond. It's this powerful, really confusing attachment that forms under two specific conditions: a big power imbalance in the relationship and this chaotic pattern of what's called intermittent reinforcement. This cycle is exactly what makes the bond so addictive and so hard to break. The abuser flips unpredictably between intense affection and then cruelty. This hot and cold pattern creates this incredibly strong bond where the victim just clings to the hope that the good side, that loving, kind person, will finally win out and stick around. This is how our internal system learns to live in chaos. So this brings us to a really important question. How do we even begin to make sense of these internal protectors and these wounded parts of ourselves? Well, there's a transformative model called internal family systems, or IFS, that offers a totally new and compassionate way to see yourself. The core idea of IFS is pretty radical. Having multiple parts is totally normal. It's natural. Think of them like members of an inner family. And, this is crucial, IFS says that none of these parts are bad. They all have good intentions for you, even if their actions have become destructive or extreme. They're all just trying to help. First up, you have the managers. These are the responsible, proactive parts of you. A manager might be that inner critic that pushes you to be perfect, so you'll never, ever be rejected. Or it could be the part that avoids relationships completely to keep you from getting hurt again. Their job is to keep you safe by controlling everything. And then you've got the firefighters. Now, when the manager's careful plans fail and a wave of old pain starts to bubble up, the firefighters rush in to put out the emotional fire, and they do it immediately. Their methods are usually pretty impulsive and extreme, like binge eating, substance use, scrolling for hours on your phone, anything to numb you out and distract you from the pain fast. So, who are the managers and firefighters working so hard to protect you from? The exiles. These are the young, vulnerable parts of us that are holding on to all the pain, the shame, and the fear from past traumas. The rest of your internal system works around the clock to keep these exiles locked away, because it believes that if their pain is ever fully felt, it will be completely overwhelming, that it will destroy you. Okay, so if we have all these parts, what's the goal here? Well, with IFS, it's not about getting rid of your managers or your firefighters. The goal is to understand them, to heal the wounds they're protecting, and to bring balance back to your entire internal system. But how does this healing actually happen? It all starts by connecting with the core of who you really are, what IFS calls the self. And here is the most radical, hopeful idea of all. Unlike our parts, the self is never damaged by trauma. It's always there, whole and complete, with the natural wisdom to lead your inner family back to harmony. Think of the self as the calm, compassionate adult in the room. When we learn to access this state, we can approach our other parts not with frustration or judgment, but with real curiosity and care. We stop fighting them, and we finally start listening.
From this place of self, we can finally do the healing work. We can connect with our anxious managers and actually hear their fears. We can offer comfort to our reactive firefighters. And most importantly, we can safely go to our exiles, witness their pain without being swept away by it, and help them release the old burdens they've been carrying for so long. So what does it actually feel like when your self is in the driver's seat? When your internal system starts to find its balance, a whole new set of qualities just naturally starts to show up. IFS actually gives us a map for what this looks like. These qualities are known as the 8 C's of self. We're talking about calmness, clarity, curiosity, compassion, confidence, courage, creativity, and connectedness. And the most amazing thing about them is that you don't have to create them. You don't have to force them. When your protective parts finally feel safe enough to take a step back, this is the state that just shines through. This is who you are underneath it all. And it doesn't stop there. We also find other core qualities like presence, patience, perspective, persistence, and even playfulness. This is how we start to build real, lasting resilience from the inside out. And this is the true transformation. That inner critic that was once a harsh manager, it can become a source of wise advice. That impulsive firefighter part might transform into a source of passion and joy. Every single part has a valuable gift to offer when it's not stuck in an extreme protective role. So, in the end, the crucial takeaway is this. Healing doesn't come from fighting yourself or trying to banish the parts you don't like. It comes from turning towards them with compassion, learning their stories, and bringing them back home. It's about transforming your inner world from a battlefield into a loving, collaborative family, led by your wisest self. The only question is, are you ready to start listening?